in Safdarjung Hospital, Delhi. And we have today with our renowned guest, Ms. Swarupama Chaturvedi. Swarupama Chaturvedi is an advocate on record in Supreme Court, and she would be guiding us regarding the violence against women. So I would be on the auspicious day of the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women. I would start with giving a platform to the talk. So, what is violence against women? So, any act of gender based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, including threats of such acts, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or private life. So, this is United Nations General Assembly definition of the violence against women. This has been there since long, till even in 19th century records we have this practice prevailing in India and England and America, and obviously there is no region which is free of this curse. So it's global. It's not religious, it is cultural. So statistics say that 1 in 3 women on the planet will be beaten or raped at least once in her life. 10 plus women are subjected to violence every week, and in around 2 lakh women, they are subjected to violence, including acid attacks, kidnapping, rape, murder, trafficking, killing, and torture for dowry between 2002 and 2013. This is massive statistics we see. So I would take you along a journey of what we get from the internet across the world. Like a girl born in South Africa is more likely to be raped than to read. Around 1,000 women are raped every day in Congo. Every 6 minutes there is a rape in US. Around 60,000 women, they are trafficked in Russia every year. Around 2 lakh children involved in prostitution in Brazil. Around 8 by 100 students in Uganda, they're coerced into sex with their teachers. 70 to 80% of the Afghan women will face forced marriages. 7% of the girls in Nepal, they're married by the age of 10, so child marriage is there. And in India, particularly, the domestic violence is very common in all forms of the society, in the rural, urban, low class or middle class or the high class. 52% of women think it's justifiable for their husband to beat them. So there's a gross figure. The sexual violence is used to humiliate them, punish them, control them in all the communities. So in around 100 women, they're found dead every day in Darfur. 40,000 women were dead in Bosnian war. And femicide particularly, because by doing the femicide, you are eradicating the whole race because then they can't produce. So it's the killing of the females just because they are females. So, and 500 million female babies who are born each year in India are not there just because of the sex selective abortion. So they are not even allowed to be born just because everybody wants a male child. So there are fewer females born than the males just because of sex selective abortion. That's a gross figure. And 1.09 million girls in China, they're declared dead at birth. So what is the Indian scenario? In India, the literacy rate is too low as compared to males, although it had been increasing, but still you can see a gap of around 20% in the both sexes. And what we call the Bimaru states, we find a lot of discrepancy. The child sex ratio is too low in states like Rajasthan and UP. So their violence crimes, they are increasing per minute, rape every 29 minutes, molestation every 15 minutes, sexual harassment every 53 minutes, murder every 16 minutes, cruelty act every 9 minutes, dowry death every 77 minutes. And this I'm telling you in the wake of the Shraddha murder case in which the girl has been brutally murdered by the living partner. So the violence, when you see the categories, they can be rape, crime, feticide, street harassment, dowry, sexual harassment at work. The pie chart shows you that rape is the maximum, while crime and murder, they are also there up to 89. So percentage who agree that a husband is justified in hitting or beating his wife is also very high because they are taught that way. They should be knowing that a man cannot hit woman even if she is a wife or a living partner. So we have laws in favor of that. We should be knowing that, and our advocate from Supreme Court, Ms. Swarupama, will tell us more regarding that. The violence can be physical, sexual, emotional, or economical, while the physical violence is the most common form of physical. Economical also because women are paid less than the male partners. And it's there everywhere. It's in the form of intimate partner violence, sexual harassment, trafficking, female genital mutilation, child marriage, or it can be acid attack, elderly abuse. There's so many forms which you see in the form of sexual violence. It can be there at home, they can be there at school, can be there the media, it can be there the world. And you can see even that girls are not even sent for the private tuition just because of the fear of this violence. So they are deprived of so many things which they can get the benefit of. The causes is the mentality of the males that they can hit women or they can do injustice with women as much they can. And the inequality is there at the society, at the politics, everywhere, at the workplace, everywhere the inequality is there. And the intimate partner violence, it's never exposed, and the females, they don't come up and tell. So the causes can be the mentality, the sexual frustrations, the society bigotries, the childhood abuse, the unbearable life pressure, drug or alcohol, or exposure to violence or trauma. So what it results into, it can result into post-traumatic stress disorder. It can result into psychiatric illness, like 70% of these kind of females, they are undergoing the as psychiatric inpatients, and they are more prone to diseases, which as a medical journal found that such females, they are more likely to have physical disease. And these kind of children who face this sort of domestic violence at home between their parents, they also undergo post-traumatic stress disorder, and they are not able to cope up with their family problems. So we need to prevent violence. We should learn self-defense. We should be telling them publicly that you need to protect yourself from sexual violence. The females should be empowered, they should be educated, they should be able to make money for themselves, and they should be the religious leaders, they should be knowing that they should not favor such things, and the school or the work-based education should be in favor of the females, and we should speak out. More important to speak out that we are facing the problem, and we should speak out against messages that encourage the violence. So we should not keep quiet, and we should be more vocal regarding our problems. So this National Day of Remembrance and Action of Violence Against Women, which is White Ribbon Day in Canada on December 6th, and in United Nations it is November 25 as International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. So this is called the White Ribbon Day, and we should show our presence in it, and we should be stopping all the violence with us, and wherever we are with any other female also. So we should be vocal and we should be helpful to other females in our own vicinity and help them get rid of this kind of violence. So there were this some spotted cases in which females they had uh, cases of violence against them, and that the people came and helped these kind of people. So I conclude that violence should be stopped and we should be speaking against it, and we should be standing against any kind of violence against women. So the teaching starts at home. We should be telling our male kids to be equal towards females, and men should be having self-control, give proper respect to women. Gender equality should be maintained at the workplace and at home. Everybody should be aware of violence and staying strong against the violence in all circumstances. So charity begins at home, and we should be telling our female child that she should not tolerate any form of violence. So don't keep calm and stop violence against women. So now I would invite Swarupama ji to enlighten more on this subject. Hospital. And with me, I have Ms. Swarupama Chaturvedi, who's advocate on record in Supreme Court, and she is former assistant professor, National Law School of India in Bangalore. She is additional advocate general for state of Madhya Pradesh in Supreme Court, and she would be joining with me on this International Day for the elimination of violence against women. So welcome, Ms. Swarupama Chaturvedi. You are on mute, ma'am. Yeah. So welcome to this webinar, and I would be really delighted that you would be giving your inputs regarding the elimination of violence against women on this auspicious day. I'll just share my screen to build the platform for the talk. Achukatla, it's
against women, which has to be stopped. As you concluded, I would take it from there only, that how we can control these violations and how we can have a safe society for women. You said we should not tolerate. This is the beginning where we have to work upon, and this is the basic problem. Why I'm focusing upon India, while we know this problem is prevalent everywhere. And I strongly believe, irrespective of country, strata, wherever you say women are standing, but at one stage, everyone has gone through some or other discrimination, which is covered under violence, whether it is economic violence, emotional violence, mental violence, if not physical. But we tend to accept it as normal trend in the society, and that's where problem begins. Let's talk about me. If I say, being women, that if some discrimination happening against me, which is affecting my economic situation as professional at workplace, and if I accept that it's okay, it happens, then I'm tolerating it, and I would raise my daughter in that certain way that she should also tend to accept it. So problem has to be identified as well as accepted first. Once we start accepting that no, it is not normal, it is not supposed to happen, then the cure begins from there itself. So you explained it already, still I will repeat for the sake of my clarity. Like violence, whenever we talk, we think something like where that Shraddha murder case has happened, okay, there was a violence. We ignore that violence which is bigger, which is triggering and ending. This violence which is visible, and today media is talking that murder is something result of that violence. We ignore those years when she was going through that violence, emotional violence, because our society raised daughters in a way that it is normal to accept, it's normal to ignore. She may be ignoring, she may not be ignoring. I don't want to go on media reports, but fact remains that we tend to raise our men differently than women in the house. So the cure starts from the basic, from the family. I would also add here that there are places where violence takes place, and that starts again. Home is not foolproof that violence doesn't take place. And again, when I talk about violence, I'm including every kind of violence which UN has accepted. Discrimination, prohibition for making choices, curtailing liberty, all are accepted form of violence, and that starts from home. And we tend to ignore it. We tend to make it acceptable, and that's where the we get raised in a way that we don't speak about it. And problem happens because we don't speak, and then the other gender or maybe similar gender sometimes it's not necessarily only men violators, sometimes it's women violators and create a kind of unholistic atmosphere at workplace. So violence happens at home, in the street when we go out, at the workplace where we think it is our second home because we spend more of the time over there, and then society in general to whom we have nothing to do, but they do judge us every day. They do create an atmosphere, their prejudices, judgments, where we don't understand, sometimes we don't realize, but that does create prohibition and obstruct our growth. When I say our, I'm talking about me, my mom, my daughter, everybody. So when we start accepting that yes, there is problem, solution starts from there. Now I'll come to law because that is what I'm supposed to speak, because you have given fantastic background. Our constitution from the day one India is independent has committed to have a society where women can have a dignified life. And for that, we have provision in the constitution which protects not only from violence against women, it is also mental violence, which is at least in the terms of making career choices and career availability, there is provision. I won't make it more legal, but I'll just make certain reference. For example, we have provision where there is equality before law, irrespective of gender. Then we have provision that state must not discriminate. When I say state, any government, any body must not discriminate on the ground of gender, and the representation has to be ensured. Now I'll give example. In the country like ours, we did have the prime minister, lady prime minister, but we know she had a family background to be reached there. But and presently we have a president woman who does not have that kind of family background. So we are definitely moving ahead. But still, India has not seen women chief justice, which is one of the most important pillar of our country. Still, India has not seen women chief election commissioner, which ensure the democracy. So what I'm trying to say is still when constitution has made all provisions to ensure our fair representation, there is still lack where we are far behind the representation at the decision making. And until we will reach towards that place, until we will have fair participation in the decision making, perhaps we are not able to make the difference as much as we can, because women has proved performance wise everywhere. Forget about not reaching up equal to the men. We have crossed that phase where women has been better performer than men. So we have to yet wait for that situation where we have fair representation. But in these years, with commitment of the constitution to protect women, so many laws has been passed. For example, equal pay, because we had even payment discrimination. So we have got law to provide equal payment for men and women at work. Then also we got provision that there should be no sexual harassment or discrimination at workplace. Of course, we got very late, but we have got the law which ensured that. Interestingly, while we have this provision and there is separate law to ensure that, I'm sure we all will agree that there are most of the offices in India still have to have proper toilet facility for women separately. We still have to have crèche facility, because when you say you are facilitating women to work, it doesn't get over with the maternity leave. If you say that you are considering both gender equal, then why it is expected that women only will get the maternity leave and men will not get? The moment you don't make provision to get equal maternity leave to men, means you are affirming that child care is only women's responsibility. That's again emotional discrimination, I would say. So these kind of mindset, although law has come to protect women, provide work atmosphere, there is a lot of steps and fine tuning is required to really ensure it as a ground reality. Then I'll come to the most form of violence which we hear about: sexual harassment. The moment, I think no girl or women would be there who would say that they have not faced sexual harassment in their life. We tend to ignore that. We consider, oh, it's okay, men will look and we have to walk. This is how we all have survived. So we all are survivor to the sexual harassment, not that we were immune to that. That's how I consider it. We have just survived through that. Now, law is there for that also. And recently, I was reading one judgment from Bombay, which is supposed to be the most women-friendly city. A woman has complained for stalking. Stalking is a crime. Law has made it provision that stalking is crime. There is even imprisonment for that. She has faced trial, everything has happened, and then the man got acquitted only because it was busy street, and then stalking offense cannot made out. Now tell me, if there is a busy street and women is talking and a man is talking and women is walking, being women, do we agree with this raw logic? No. The stalking still takes place irrespective of crowd on the road. It is just that the sexual violence, assault would not take place. So even judiciary is not yet enlightened up to the level where they can distinguish in between physical violence as well as emotional violence, mental violence. So stalking, which is a mental violence, which will definitely stop that women to grow, going out fearlessly, the honorable judge got mixed it with rape attempt and assault, because that is what, the moment he says that it was busy street and stalking cannot happen, I really don't understand the logic. Except that he is not clear, or she, I shouldn't make gender specific, that judge is not clear that emotional and mental violence is separate, which is categorized as stalking, eve teaching, and physical violence is separate, which is assault and rape. But both exist and both are against women's dignity. So, one, there is the law. There is the law to protect us at every stage. But two, the interpreters of that law. And before that, we, for whom these laws are made, how many of us are ready to go to police and register the case? No, there is problem with the system. We don't want to cross that. So the awareness of law, that yes, there is protection options available to us, and if somebody is violating, that person is to be punished. Then accepting that yes, what is happening with me is actually a violation, and then taking a step to register that, and then fighting for it. This is where cure exists, but it's not easy journey. It is definitely not easy journey. I will take a pause at this aspect, and then I'll move towards economic discrimination, which is another violence. It has been in existence from decades, and very recently, women have got their due right in their paternal property. We have not yet recognized that. While Constitution commits equality for women, only male members were entitled for the paternal property. So law got amended, and now we are entitled. Similarly, so whenever these things are getting identified and highlighted, until we demand, nothing is happening. But when it is highlighted, then government is definitely trying to meet up to that. Still, there are so many areas that I want to highlight where law is yet to be made. the offense, the harassment which comes in our very personal space. And the result of that was the Shraddha murder. There is no law which prohibits a man not to force themselves on women if it is married couple. In Shraddha's case, scene was different. It could be easily made out as rape. But when there is a marriage, that's where there is lapse in the law. IPC makes it clear that no, a woman cannot be forced. But at the same time, there is an exception which says, provided that the girl is 15 years and she is wife. Now tell me one thing, how marital status of a girl can give exemption for somebody to force himself? When we say that there is prohibition of child marriage, another law, that big provision, voidable. Voidable means at 18 she can come and say that, okay, I was 15 when I got married, and now this law marriage is not legal. From 15 to 18, she has lost. She cannot speak about that. How this law helps? Then comes to POXO. POXO, which is for the sexual assault against children protection. So this is gender neutral for men and women. Still, that every day in the news you will feel that there is some particular religion where the puberty is considered as maturity. Now, this is the right forum to talk about it, because you being medical professional, you all know women's body is not different depending upon our faith. If a particular faith has marriageable age at 18, how does another girl at 16 is ready to get married? Because these things are, again, marriage leads to consummation of marriage, and then the probability to become pregnancy and maximum death of children happen due to that in between 15 to 18. So there is law, sufficient law, but there are enough gray areas which have to be cured. But here we are having hope, because we have already crossed a stage where the first law to protect women was Sati abolition, Sati Pratha abolition. So we have come a lot of distance we have traveled, and we can't say that there is no law to protect. Yes, we do have, but a lot needs to be done also. But what I would say and urge to everyone here, let's accept and let's understand that violence includes every kind of activity, not even those four terminology, which make us not to do what we are competent for doing, whether it is stopping to make career choice, being a gender, having a gender, or recently this defense related law. I mean, Supreme Court has declared that women has to get promoted and go for it. So we are crossing so many barriers. So let's accept, let's talk about it instead of saying it's normal, it happens. Let's tell our girls, yes, it is happening, but it's not normal. You don't have to accept it. It is definitely not normal for your boss to give a particular assignment to a boy and not to you. It is definitely not normal. Speak for it. And then everything will be sorted out once we accept, admit, and take steps for this. I would say thank you to you for such a wonderful topic and joining hands. And I'm really happy that you decided to have me so I could join my hands for this, for our fraternity. Thank you.
I really thanks Swarupama ji to give us so much of insight regarding the existing laws which can give us our right and which can help us from protecting us from the sexual as well as the domestic and as well as the economic violence, which you said that it is happening with us at every step. Women are paid less than the men, and we keep a mum regarding it. So we need to be speaking about all these things, and I really thank Swarupama ji to tell us all. So I ask all the females to stand up for all the rights we have and to fight for it. Thank you so much to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.